I think at this point Sadie's almost taken that part.
Yeah. Well, getting to Jody to the third episode when we talked about Jody, this is one of the things I was really hoping to be able to see in the show and how they handled his life in Jody, because
Wait,
that really is the heart of the book.
is it Jody in the book?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, because
Yeah.
it's Sadie in the show.
No. Like the name of the town, the town is Jody.
Oh,
Yeah. So his life in Jody is the heart of the book. His life with Sadie is the heart of the book. And all in all, this is a time travel story, but in reality, it's not. It's a love story that
Oh, yeah.
involves time travel.
definitely.
So we see Jake go back in time. We see him do the stuff he needs to do, but he falls in love with the town. He falls in love with the girl. He falls in love with the people around him. He doesn't want to go back. He doesn't want to mess with what he doesn't want to mess things up and go back. So this is why I wanted to see how they're going to handle it in the show, and I feel they rushed it a little bit. I still feel that they did a good job, but they rushed it big time, and I know why. It's because they only have 3 years in the show, and they only have 8 episodes to do it in. And in the book, he's got about 5 years to take care of it, and he has a lot more time. But like the whole dance thing, he leaves Sadie behind in the dance to go mess around with Bill there with the recordings and so forth. And in the book, it's that dance that really solidifies his and Sadie's relationship. That's where they become, they get together because Jake was gonna like, I'm never gonna be with Sadie. It's just not gonna happen, And it's during that dance that he falls in love with her, and they start their relationship at that point.
Yeah.
I think the show did awesome with the character or with the actress that they chose for Sadie.
Yeah, she's very good. I was
And
actually surprised that she's not done more, big movies or TV shows than this. She's
very
done a
beautiful.
couple. That as well helps. But like she's not really that famous. So yeah, I'll probably think I'd say we'll probably see a lot more of her in the future. At
believe
least I
her,
hope so.
but if her name was Sarah Gadon or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she, like I said, she's a beautiful girl. Her in the book she's blonde and she's beautiful. She's colored eyes, but in the book she's tall. She's really tall. And Jake is actually really tall in the book, and he says she's always been tall, but I was always a little bit taller, or something like that. So he was still a taller person, but he's tall, she's tall, and she's very clumsy in the book. So yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really come across, but it's not really that important.
No, that part is not that important. It kind of ties in towards the end with how Sadie goes away, or gets taken away from him. But we'll talk about that towards the end of the show. And I think Sadie was portrayed beautifully, even though they changed a little bit things from her. There's a couple of things that they could have done better, I believe, but it's all about the time compression and all that. Deke, I don't remember this actor's name, but he came out in. Did you ever watch Justified?
No.
Okay. Do you know what the show is? What show I'm talking about?
I know of it.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
He appeared in Justified, and I always liked his character. He's like, I think he's a chief deputy there. Nick Searcy, that's who it is. Nick Searcy, and he is awesome in that show. I think he did a beautiful job of portraying Deke and his girlfriend, Miss Mimi. She is actually race swapped here. She, in the book she's white, and in the show she's black, which I believe is a beautiful change for the show. In the book they talk about some racial tension, but they don't really go into the aspect of from the perspective of the actual African Americans, And
Yeah.
in the show they changed her to an African American woman, and you kind of see what she's going through with everybody being so pretty much racist. They accept her in the
Yeah.
town, but they're still not treating her as an equal.
Oh yeah, and I like how Jake responds to that because he's from modern times.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that he kind of almost gives
Different.
himself.
And yeah, he's like, don't, you shouldn't care about these stupid backwards people,
Yeah.
and he's like, he's very nice to her, very, normal to her.
So that's one thing that I think the show handled a lot better than the book. Not that the book tried to sweep it under the rug or anything like that, but they brought up some instances and so forth. But they didn't. I don't think they actually give a perspective with. They gave one couple of instances, but not as deep in instance like with him and Miss Mimi, like when she's getting the gas and so forth.
Yeah. Well, Stephen King really never does that in his books. Like a lot of his stories take place from the 50s to the 70s, some later, but most of them between that time. And like there's like in history, there's a lot of racial tension between those years.
Yeah.
And in his books, it never really takes place. Like, yeah, you can sort of wonder, like, is he just not, think he's able to write about that, or does he think it's just not important, or does he just doesn't want to?
I think if it's important to the story, he'll do it. Because, like I said, it's not like he's turning a blind eye to it. He does bring up and he does let us know that it is that time period. It's just that in that particular moment, it wasn't important to the story, so he didn't write too much about it. And like I said, I applaud the show because they actually did talk about that.
Yeah, it's very well done.
So we see when he's in the past, we see the past itself. Al says that the past is going to push back to him, and we see when he's trying to. There's another thing. Jake tried to talk to his dad. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
I mean,
honestly, the first time when he said the past will always push back, I couldn't help it but think of the Langoliers. The first thing.
And actually, what is that? That's actually the time. What did they say it was?
What the Langoliers are?
Yeah, they're not really. They're making sure that the past. I feel like the Langoliers are there to make sure that no one can go into the past because it kind of destroys the past as you move into the future.
Yeah, the Langoliers make sure that no one can go back to the past and that the future happens because of it.
Yeah.
Like there would be no future if the past would not be,
destroyed.
By the Langoliers.
Yeah. So, well, we see that lady get killed because he's going back to the phone for some reason because he feels like he really needs to talk to his dad. I know, and I get his dad has passed away, but when you go back to the past, that's not something you do.
Yeah, he was warned and he still did it. I can see why he did it, but it's something stupid.
So the show actually steps up the level of how the past pushes back for some parts. I feel like some parts it was very weak how it pushed back, but it did level it up when he's going to chasing around George de Morenshield, and he drops the chandelier. It drops it starts a fire. It does all that stuff. It's a lot more crazy in the book. Yeah.
Oh, crazy in the book? Or
No, in the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is pretty extreme. Like the whole house catches on fire, and it's like, yeah.
And I was actually hoping that they were gonna say that kid was someone important.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's a better visual representation of the past pushing back.
Yeah.
Like you can, have something small happen, or you can set a house on fire. That just raises stakes in a TV show. So I can see why it would work better for a TV show.
So where we are in the book, we're already. Oh, one thing that I did forget to mention, in the shows, Jake meets Sadie right as soon as he gets into Dallas.
Yeah.
and yeah, he doesn't meet Sadie until the school. So I didn't have a problem with that. I kind of feel like it was just a coincidence, but you know, not can't say too much about it. Um,
So, let's go big step. Yeah, let's head to Oswald,
yeah.
because a lot of the story in the show is about Oswald.
What did you think about the actor who played Oswald?
That's not bad.
I don't know.
Um,
I don't know much about Oswald to know if he played him faithfully or not.
yeah, it's. I don't know either. I don't know if the age was correct. The actor was sort of believable, I guess. He seemed a bit young, but it could very well be that Oswald was very young when he did it.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I'm not. When it comes to the whole JFK thing, I'm not one of those people who actually go and research and know all that information about it. And maybe I should have done it for the show, for my own
Yeah, I saw the
knowing.
movie.
So it's Daniel Weber, the actor who plays Lee Harvey Oswald, and you know what, Oswald in the show is a better character. He's not much of a character in the book. He's really one dimensional. He's pretty much off the rails the whole time.
Oh,
In the show, I feel like they try to show you a little bit more of his human side, especially when he's with the baby. He I think he kind of shows some love towards his wife. What's her name? Marina. And but it's mostly when he's with the baby. They show him his tender side. Like there's that one scene where he's just sitting there timing himself, putting the gun together,
yeah.
and then the baby cries, and he's like, "Oh, Junie, Junie," you know, and then he picks her up, and it just shows you that he's not just a monster all the time. But then they show you the part where he's going after Walker and he's just yelling at him, "I'm gonna kill you," whatever. So like they show the two different sides of him. So it's not something like sometimes you kind of feel like, man, this guy. It's kind of hard to see him die, but you know he's a monster, so you kind of want to see him die. So yeah, I feel like
Want to
they
see
fleshed
him
him
die
out.
is a bit much, but
Well,
um,
stopped.
stopped. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. You sort of feel like every now and then there is hints that he's one of those people that bottles up his anger and just explodes every now and then. You
Yeah.
know, he sort of comes across as that. So that's why I thought the actor at least was
He needs to
fairly
be on anger management.
good. Yeah, or not be like in possession of a firearm.
Yeah.
But
So
then again, it's America.
yeah, and as far as Marina, I can't say too much about Marina. I like the actress that played her. I feel that Marina in the book is she's more scared of Oswald than what the actress Lucy Fry portrayed her as. I feel like Lucy Fry as Marina didn't show that she was scared of him. She kind of like stood up to him, and she even when she's taking that famous picture of him with the newspaper, she's like, "You look ridiculous." And even that George Moore show, he looks at her like, "Oh my god, you don't say that to somebody that's like this guy."
Yeah.
So she wasn't scared of him. She did get beat by him, and the thing is that she walked out on him. So it's not something like she was just staying there for the whole time that he was beating her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I like the way they portrayed her, but I don't like. Once again, I know if I know little about Oswald, but Lee, I know much less about Marina.
You mean the real one?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know anything.
So we've hit pretty much the big parts. I don't really, I can't say that there's a lot of the people we talked about so far that I can flesh out more. So we had talked about some things that we wanted to talk about further, discuss further, right? And the one thing that we left out towards when Jake comes across is the yellow card man.
Yeah, that's the big mystery character, really. And I was very like in the series. He's um just someone who sort of shows up and warns them every now and then, and that just seems a bit weird to me. Like Stephen King usually just does a lot with his characters. Like every character has a little story to themselves.
Yeah.
And for some reason this one doesn't have any story at all. So at first I was wondering, is the yellow card man just Jake from like the future, but like, that one that stayed there or something?
Well, see, and when I first thought it was that he was another time traveler, which it is in the story. We end up knowing that he is another time traveler who's stuck in his own loop of trying to save his daughter. But when we first see him, he kind of is just like, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here. And
Yeah.
what I liked is that Jake continues to hear that throughout the whole time he's in the past. You shouldn't be here.
Yeah, from different people.
Yeah. But then it starts to look like the yellow card man is actually causing some of the things. So it's really confusing as far as what he was or what he is, because it looks like he's about to cause Sadie to die when she's going through her operation,
Yeah.
and it's like, wait, is he a time traveler? Is he the past? Is he, what is he? Yeah, and I can see why you're confused about him, and I guess we'll jump into a little bit, and I'll go back because I did miss one character, but as far as what the yellow card man is there, so this is also going back to the rabbit hole, because the rabbit hole does get a little bit more explanation towards the end, and we figure out what it is. So at the end of the book, and in the book, Jake goes back in time, and goes back to Lisbon to go back through the rabbit hole, and the first couple of times that he goes through the rabbit hole, he sees a yellow card man, and he's this drunk guy who's asking for money. The second time he goes back, it's orange card. The yellow card no more, it's orange. And then the last time he goes back to actually do everything, it's a black card. So the card is changing. And in this time, when the black card is there, the yellow card man kills himself. Just commits suicide, and he doesn't come out in the book again to the very end. However, it's another guy. It's another guy with the card in his hat, and this guy's card is green. And this is a guy that starts to explain everything that's going on. So the rabbit hole, he says, it's more like a bubble. It exists in time for very limited parts of time. It's not a fixed thing. It's not always going to be there. But after a while, it just kind of implodes on itself and it closes. So what's going on is that these yellow card man, green card man, orange card man, black card man, they're agents sent there to try to stop time travelers from messing with the past. And this is how the book explains it, and I hopefully I understand. I explain it okay. I'm not gonna say good.
I get it so far. So.
So what happened? What he says is that each time you go through the rabbit hole, you don't actually start, and you don't do a complete reset. You're actually starting a different tangent line when you go back, which is why Al was able to take back the meat every single time, take back the money every single time, and nothing happened to it. But what happens is that when you go back through the rabbit hole, and you do that little reset, you kind of erase and complete the cycle. And you kind of erase it, but there's still some residue left, So some things sometimes you kind of feel like deja vu kind of thing. I feel that's how I understood it, at least. So there's some residue there, but they said that the yellow card man did try to warn Al about it, but since Al was just going back and doing, just getting meat, that's all he was doing. He wasn't really making a big of a impact. But when he started to change the past with that girl, he started to cause these different strings to start happening. So every single time he went back into the past and did something that changed the future, another string would come off. Like how they explained it in the Marvel universe,
Different timelines.
Yeah. So he starts causing different timelines every single time he does this. Okay, so once you get all these strings spread out with so many strings, some of these strings get snarled and bad things starts to happen. So when Jake went back and did all those throughout those 5 years, he did all those things. He's got all these different strings coming out from him, and all of a sudden he saves Kennedy, which is a big moment in time, causes so much more strings to come out. And in the book, right after he saves Kennedy, there's a big earthquake that happens in California, and they say pretty much California is no longer there. So
Wow.
he's like, what the, how did I, how he goes, I think he says, I knew that I caused it, but there's no way I could have caused it, right? And like he's kind of like reaching in himself. There's no way I could have caused that, right? There's no way. I just saved Kennedy. How could that happen? So when the green card man is telling them is that with so many strings out there that they're becoming entangled, they're becoming snarled, that he's actually causing the reality to implode on itself. So all these earthquakes, all that stuff is actually the earth starting to like crumble on itself. So when he goes back in time to see what happened, it's the dystopian future. What we saw in the show is pretty much what they explain. It's a little bit different, but pretty much what they explain. He runs into Harry. Harry's in a wheelchair in that one. He's not as badass as he is in the show, in the future. But he tells him, gives him a rundown of everything that happened. I think it says that who is it? I'm trying to remember who it is. Someone becomes president after Kennedy. Kennedy serves his 8 years. He does good, but he doesn't do as good as a job as he would have done. He says that he does a good job. He didn't do as good of a job as LBJ would have done.
Oh yeah, Lyndon B. Johnson.
Yeah, but in the book, I forgot who it is. I think he's the governor of Alabama at the time. His name escapes me right now, but he's a really big racist, and he becomes president, and that really starts causing a lot of tension within the world. There's a bunch of nukes that go flying. There's a nuclear reactor in Maine that explodes, and it's just doing a lot of damage to the earth, and there's these like thunder noises and stuff that's just starting to happen for no reason, and nobody knows what they are. But Jake's like, I know what it is. It's reality imploding on itself. So pretty much, the green card man says that if you don't go back and reset everything you did, you're gonna cause reality to cease. You're gonna mess up. You're gonna wipe out all life, pretty much, because of what he did. It was just so major.
All the strings are gonna snap.
Yeah. So I hope I explained that as good as I can.
Yeah. Well, it sort of explains the ending of the final episode, where he goes back to the current day, not the future, but current day, and everything's just horrible, and it's all crap, because Kennedy was a great president. He was probably the last great American president, and no offense to any current presidents, especially those listening.
I don't think we have to worry about that.
But Kennedy meant something to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was saved, and then that caused a lot of things to go bad. That's sort of that wasn't explained in the show, which was really bad to me, because everything should be better if Kennedy is saved.
They tried to explain it, but I think they had to rush it really fast, and it wasn't explained as well as it should have been.
Yeah, because it was in the last 10 minutes of the show.
Yeah. So hopefully I did justice to that.
At least now I know why it went bad. So,
So yeah. Oh, so the green card man explains that being around these bubbles, it kind of like does is it kind of has a throws radiation at them pretty much, and they're there to protect the bubble as much as they can. And there's a lot of bubbles around the world, and people just kind of stumble into them and go back. And but as time passes by, this radiation starts to affect the mental stability of the people. So the card in their hat is to monitor the mental stability of the character, which is why the yellow card man, when he's first there, he's a drunk. So he's starting to feel his brain, his mind start going. He's starting to drink.
Yeah, he's affected by it.
Yeah. When it's turned, it's when they turn so yellow, you start going mad. When it's black, you're pretty much you commit suicide. You can't.
That makes a lot more sense then.
Yeah, I like that a lot better than the time traveler stuck in his own loop, trying to stop. Especially since it didn't make sense with the rest of the story, on the show.
Yeah, like I wish they put that in the show actually.
So I was gonna say one thing that I missed and was Sadie's husband, who was played by T.R. Knight. I think that's his name. And what did you think about him? Yeah.
Yeah, crazy psychotic.
He played him well. He was scary.
He was scary as fuck. That's why I said it's crazy psychotic.
But he also it looked like he has some charisma to him too.
Yeah, not as much as Frank. What's his name? Yeah, but like like I said, he came across as crazy psychotic guy. So yeah.
So yeah, one thing that as an Easter egg, and I didn't catch a lot of these. I think I heard more people say there's a bunch of them. But an Easter egg is that Johnny's actually driving Christine, or actually the car model of Christine.
Oh, a Corvette? No, it's not a Corvette. It's a T-Bird, isn't it?
No. Let me look it up real quick, because it is gonna get to me if I don't look it up.
That's a good Stephen King movie. It's
Yeah.
probably my favorite.
Let's see. Where is it? Plymouth Fury. It's Plymouth Fury.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he's driving a 1958 Plymouth Fury, which 1958 is the year that he goes back in the book.
Oh, yeah.
It would be awesome to if they found out that Johnny was the owner of the car. Because remember in the movie, I never read the book, but in the movie he gets that car from somebody. I think someone left it there. Someone died or something like that.
Someone just left it at a junkyard.
It would have been awesome if that's where he got the car from. It would have been from this guy.
Next year in the Stephen King Avengers, the ultimate crossover movie.
I would love a Stephen King shared universe, but it's too much stuff to happen.
Yeah, especially with the gunslinger coming out.
Yeah.
Or the Dark Tower, if you want to call it that.
What did you think of the when he had Sadie tied up?
What do you mean?
When he has Sadie tied up and he gives her that scar, where he's pretty much having Jake almost trying to kill him by drinking that bleach.
Yeah.
What did you think of that scene?
I'll say it again. Crazy psychotic.
No more. No other words necessary.
He's crazy and just psychotic. I can't really say it in any other way. He just he's your typical guy who goes crazy and does these kind of things.
And I was watching the episode with my wife, and that part where Jake is actually able to kill him, it kind of is like, whoa. It kind of just like, oh my god, I can't believe he killed him that way. Because it's actually Sadie who shoots him or shoots the gun, and no, no, no. Jake throws something across the room, right? It distracts him, and when Johnny's shooting, he just comes up to him with that fireplace poker and just hits him in the head and digs that thing right in his head, and then Sadie shoots him, or or something like that, right?
I think he's hit first and then she shoots.
Yeah.
Or the other way
So,
around.
but I remember I was just like, oh, it got that kind of a reaction out of myself and my wife.
You've seen that before in TV shows and movies.
I don't know why I just didn't expect it in the show though. That's the thing. So let's go ahead and just get towards the ending in his time in the past, getting to Oswald and all that, because this like I said, this is the ending of the book, and I'm not gonna lie to you here, I got choked up. I'm not a
You're a very stoic man.
I'm kind of like I can say I'm like Jake here, but my wife knows that at the end that I'm actually very a big softy when it comes to stuff. We see his love for Sadie throughout the whole book. He falls in love with her. She actually in the book she actually finds out that he's from the future by herself. She kind of starts putting things together, and she just comes out and plain asks him if he's from the future. There's a lot of things that happen to get to that point, and it's a lot of stuff to even talk about right now. But there's a lot of stuff that happens, and she asks straight out, "Are you from the future?" And he has to say, "Yes, he is. Yes, I am."
I guess they cut all that out just for time.
Yeah, because they were actually
that would
broken
be an
up.
easy thing to cut out.
Yeah, but they were actually broken up for a while because he moved out of Jody and he moved in Dallas for a while, and so there's a lot of stuff that's missing from the show. But I can see why they did it.
Yeah.
So where do I want to start here? There's a couple of changes from when Jake gets beat up and gets sent to the hospital. In the book, it's like 5 months ahead of time, and he's in a coma for a little bit of that time.
Yeah.
So the point where there's a couple of months where he's just trying to get his memory back and so forth. And in the show, it kind of happens within 14 days. He's back, he's awake, he's up and walking around, and he's able to regain his memory little by little, you know. But what happens in the final part of the book here, in the show, you know, they get to Oswald, they stop him, but you know, Oswald in one of his wild shooting shoots Sadie, and you see Jake in the show. You see Jake lose it there. He's kind of like, "Save her, you gotta save her," you know. And I believe he cries right at that point, right? Do you remember?
I don't really remember.
I think he does cry at that point, because he's in love with her, and the thing is, like, he wants her to live, and you can see here in her eyes she's already gone, and he's just so torn up, and he wants to go back and save her. He wants to go back to the railway hole, come back and get her.
So, yeah, you mean for the second time, yeah.
Yeah. So in the book, you know, like I've said it a couple of times in the book, he says, "I've never been a crying man. I've never been a crying man." So what happens is, in the book, he still has a limp. He's still walking with a limp from the beating he has. And he gets to the point where he's going to stop Oswald. And I think he calls out, "Oswald!" And he turns around. And Oswald takes a shot at him. Well, when he's taking a shot at him, Jake falls. So the bullet goes right above him and it shoots Sadie. And that's where Sadie dies. And it's like, geez, the bullet was meant for Jake, but it hit Sadie because of his leg. So the legs actually saved him. The beating that he took actually saved him, but it took the woman from him. And he makes it a point to say, at that moment, I did not cry, because I knew what I was going to do. At that point, he knew he was gonna go back through the rabbit hole
Oh,
and
and do
come
it
back
again.
for yeah. So he's like, just do what I need to do right now. It doesn't matter what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go back and save her. So he stops Oswald, and actually, Oswald is able to get a gunshot, right, and off. And when he's fighting with Jake, he's actually killed by a Secret Service across the building. They shoot him.
Oh,
So he gets interrogated, and everything. Rest of the book, the rest of the show is pretty faithful to this part. He goes back. He decides that he's gonna come back and save Sadie, but first he's gonna go check what happened when he saved JFK. So all that happens, and we talked about all that stuff already. And he talks to the green card man. The green card man says it's not a good idea to do all that stuff. And then he comes back around. He comes back from the future, and the green card man is there, and he's talking to him, and he tells him, "You can't do that. You can't." He goes, "If she was meant to die the night that Johnny Clayton was there, when he gave her that scar, and you're keeping her alive, then she was meant to die. She's gonna that you're messing with the past."
yeah.
But he also has this kind of thing that maybe if he's not there, she won't have that scar. She won't have to worry about that. Maybe she won't even marry him if he's not in the past, because you know how they have that whole butterfly effect. So he's there, and this is where the green card man tells him everything's going down. That he's causing reality to bend and to implode on itself each time he goes back and does major things like he's planning to do again. So he's in the past, and he stays the night there in the past. He's trying to figure out what he wants to do, and he decides that he can't go back to save her. He decides that he's not going to go back and save her. And he goes, "At that moment, I cried." So he goes, that moment that he realized that he's not going to be able to be with the woman he loves, that he cries. He cries at that moment. He goes back to the future, decides not to look her up. He decides he does not want to know what happened to her. He just want to go and say and hear that she got killed by Johnny Clayton. He does not want to go back and say that she survived Johnny Clayton but then died in a car accident or whatever, you know. So he's there for a while. Circumstances happen, and he decides that he's going to look up the newspaper from Jody or the surrounding areas, and he sees that they're celebrating her for being the person of the century for this town, because she actually became a senator or something like that. She became something really big in politics, and she did a lot of good. So he goes back and he saves her, and he has that last dance like he did in the book, and he sees her as young Sadie, and you can tell that he still loves her no matter how she looks. They dance, and what is it when she asks Jake, who are you? Like, someone you knew in another life, and that's how it ends. Very faithful to the book. Very faithful to the book. And like I said, I was choking up. And I goes, I'm not someone who like love stories and stuff like that. I don't get like that. I am, and the thing is, I love my wife a lot, and I might joke around with her and stuff like that. But she knows I love her. She knows I don't cry and stuff like that. And I told her, the book got me teary-eyed. The episode got me teary-eyed because I knew what was coming, and I knew what was gonna happen. And I love that ending. They pulled it off perfect. I was worried they're gonna mess it up. They pulled it off. I love the ending. I love the whole series and the total a whole lot better because of the way it ended.
I have to say I did love the ending. It was very sweet, and I'm normally someone who cries at pretty much anything. Put me on a Pixar like a Pixar movie on, and I'll just cry for 2 straight hours. Like, that's just me. But this, I didn't really have, like, I just thought, like, it was very sweet and very nice.
You see,
and,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about it. It gave me a big smile on my face. Like, this is a really nice way to end it. But, like, I didn't really get that emotion.
And no, to me, it was more the whole progress of him. Like I said, the whole book is saying, I'm not a crying man. I didn't cry this. I didn't cry that. This didn't happen. So him just getting overwhelmed by the emotions, not because she died, not because of all that stuff that happened, but because he knew he couldn't go back and save her.
Yeah.
And that's when he broke down. That's when he cried. And I'm
I
like,
liked the line where he said, "Have you had a good life?"
yes.
That was my favorite line from
It's all
pretty much the entire show.
That's because that's all he cared about.
Yeah.
And
That,
in the show,
that sums up what he wants her to have.
yeah, and in the show, he's spinning around. He sees her as a young Sadie, and then we go back and she's old Sadie again. And I love that they didn't put her in old makeup, an old person makeup. They used a different actress, and and then it just the camera swings back, and then it goes through the doors, and it ends. And I was so happy. I was like, and I turned to my wife. I go, they did it. They did an awesome job, and that's all I cared about. And she's not as big Stephen King fan as I am. We're very opposite as far as what we like and so forth. But she loved that series, and she was real into it since the very beginning.
Yeah, I can see how this is not really your typical Stephen King story either. Because usually they're either more violent or way more out there.
This is a very Stephen King-esque story because it's like, I think Stephen King was like, I'm gonna write a love story. This is my love story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. This is like, if Stephen King wrote a love story, this would be it. It would be somewhat about it, but a lot of other stuff happened to make that happen.
Like Notebook, what? I don't talk about. Yeah.
Yeah.
He writes laps around other authors.
Yeah, I mean, this is a love story in as much as there's no demonic clowns or aliens or apocalypse is happening.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the thing is that it's in the same shared universe as in the Stephen King written universe. It's in the same. So like I said, he meets or he feels the presence of it.
But does this take place before or after The Stand?
Well, one thing I and thank you for saying that. In the episode, if you look when he goes back into the future, in the post-apocalyptic future, on one of the buildings, it says Captain TR, which is a reference to Captain Trips, which is the name of the flu that takes out everybody in The Stand.
Yeah.
So we got to some people are out, and I was reading it online. I'm like, did he cause The Stand? I'm like, man, that would actually be a very good thing to have happen because of what he did.
I always wondered if what's the Maximum Overdrive, if the thing that killed everyone from that, if that wasn't the same as The Stand.
What happens there? Maximum Overdrive?
Oh no, wait, Maximum Overdrive's where the people all, the machines all become alive.
Yes.
Yeah, if that was one of the reasons that The Stand happened,
Let's just say it's because of Jake.
Yeah.
Let's just go back on all his Stephen King books and movies and stuff. Jake caused it by going back in time.
I think the last book I read by Stephen King was Lizzie's Story.
I never read that one.
That one is messed up. Oh, it's really messed up. It's basically some sort of a lot of his stories are where he's a writer.
Yeah.
And this is actually about the wife of the writer. So it talks about the man being this famous writer, and she's his widow. And there's a couple of unreleased scripts that some sort of super fan wants. And basically the first half of the book, she is partially unconscious and bleeding on the floor and just thinking back about the past and what that writer told her, all the stories he had. Mm-hmm. And those are the really dark stories that Stephen King sometimes has. He had a demon brother, pretty much. Like, yeah,
that sounds pretty.
that's why I thought like this is a very mild Stephen Kingish TV show. Like it can be, but yeah, I liked it. I think overall this was one of my favorites
Yeah, definitely. And
for adaptations.
so oh, and we liked it, but any final words, anything like that, over anything else in the story?
No, my only questions were the yellow card man, what that would represent, and you answered that perfectly. And the ending, what we talked about. So everything else sort of made sense. And I don't know enough about the actual assassination of JFK to really know any specific questions about that. So I want to judge this as like a series apart from itself, like not related to anything else. And I think it does a very, very good job in telling its story.
Yeah. One thing I forgot to mention, someone had asked me on YouTube at the end of the last episode, they were asking the agent Hosty, the one that was after Oswald. He goes, this is what he says, Jimmy Dorrell. He goes, okay, please help me out here. Was I the only one who noticed that Hosty called Jake Epping instead of Amberson in the integration room? He does it twice, but he couldn't have known that. That was Jake's name from the future, and no one else knew that in the past except for Sadie and maybe Bill knew that. So how did he find that out, or how did Hosty know that? Please help me out. I'm freaking out about it.
Didn't he get his notes or something?
Well, no. Well, what happened is Jake actually did use his real name in the past a couple times.
Yeah, the first couple of times.
Yeah, and even Miss Mimi was able to figure out his real name. That's when he starts going into that whole spiel of he's in the witness protection program, and he starts telling the story from The Godfather.
Oh yeah.
It's like this ass.
Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, so he used his real name, so they that's what they found from him. So and I replied to him, and he's like, oh yeah, man, I totally forgot about that. And our other buddy Aaron Cummings, he says he loved the series and really thought that it ended how it should have ended, and he gives the show a 92 out of 100. Which
8.5, 9, yeah.
Yeah, I give
There's
it.
a couple of slower moments, and there's like that would make you normally, well, not lose interest, but like, if you're watching on a computer, which most of us nowadays are, you start to click other links.
Yeah, or even watching TV, you will start getting on your phone and stuff.
Yeah, but overall, this was a very solid show.
Yeah, I think his score 92 out of 100, which would be like 8.5 to 9.0. Yeah, that's fair.
I think 9.2 would put it on Breaking Bad level, and I can't no, it's not there. It's very good, it's solid, it's not Breaking Bad. Sorry.
Yeah, it's not the best one, but it's very good. As far as adaptations that we talked about, as far as adaptations from Stephen King novels, though, Stephen King stories, I think it's way up there. And just talking about Stephen King stuff.
Yeah, because there's been so many bad Stephen King adaptations that a nice solid one that has a nice beginning and an ending like this, it's very good. Because there have been so many bad ones to compare it to. Like, there's only a handful of good Stephen King adaptations, really.
Mostly the Frank Darabont ones.
Yeah, like there's Christine, Carrie. I don't even think The Stand is that good. If you look back at it now, it's horrible.
Yeah. Even it's not the best one either.
It's all right, but it's sort of weird. It's better if you would see it as a kids movie.
Yeah.
Which makes it kind of weird with the super creepy clown.
Yep.
But it is sort of a kid's story. Yeah, I think that's about it for really
Well, we have
solid
the Green
recommendations.
Mile. We have
Well, yeah, the Green Mile.
Shawshank Redemption. I love The
Yeah.
Mist.
Oh, The Mist. Sorry, I forgot about
Yeah,
that. I
yeah,
love The Mist. That was very good.
yes.
Well, the newer one. The old one I don't really remember that well. I
Did
saw it
you
once when I was a kid, but
did you hear that they're making a The Mist TV show?
yeah, but it's like takes place after the movie, right?
I didn't read the whole story because I don't like. I'm really against spoilers, which is weird because if I read the book, it's kind of a spoiler, right? But still, I'm really against spoilers. So I don't want to know much about what's going on, what's going to happen on the TV show. Hopefully, I can do a recap. It doesn't start until I think 2018 or 2017. I'm not sure, but hopefully, I'm still get views on my YouTube channel, and people will still want to see that, see those reviews.
By that time, there won't be any YouTube anymore. We'll all like get the internet buzzed right into our brain chip.
We're gonna have to pay. We're gonna have to pay directly from our with our fingerprint.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll leave it there. We've been talking about almost an hour and a half, which I think that's what I was gonna have take
Longer
to.
than one of the episodes, so
Yeah. Well, I mean, most of my recaps were only 15 minutes, so this is probably all of them together is.
it's the
So
recap extravaganza.
yes, it's a marathon. Oh no, not a marathon, buffet. Recap buffet. No, but we talked about both the show and the book. So, and hopefully, like I said, hopefully I was able to convey and relay what I thought and what I believed and what I remembered from the book properly. It's been a while since I read it, and hopefully everybody else can understand exactly where I was coming from and how I explained the different events. So, okay, we'll leave it there. Nick, do you have anything to plug? Anything you want to let us know you're working on or coming out in?
No, I don't really have anything to plug. I don't really have my own YouTube channel. I just come out every now and then. I am a regular on the Saturday Morning Nerd podcast, though. I think the best way would be to plug that. You know of them, right? I think you've heard of them.
Yeah, I've heard of them. I've come a couple times there, and by the time this goes up, that latest one where I was on, where of course both of us were on, we should already be on YouTube by then. And I believe Jake has put that on its own channel, right? Saturday Morning Nerds.
Yeah, it's its own channel, Saturday Morning Nerds. Just type that in YouTube, you'll find it. If you look at me on Twitter, I put it on my website as Twitter. I figured don't have anything else to plug, might as well just put that on there. Yeah, so yeah, the Saturday Morning Nerds is basically a show mostly about comics. It's about nerd news-ish. We talk about movies, trailers, and other comic-related stuff.
Yep, and this one we just did today. Actually, we pre-recorded this week's was all about Marvel's Civil War.
Yep, it was actually in the same call.
Yeah. So we've been talking about all close to 4 hours now.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll leave it there. We'll you guys can remember that you guys can always catch my stuff here on YouTube. You can reach me out on the social media sites: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and also on nerdfeed.com, where you'll be able to find all the 11/22/63 videos, as well as my other videos for Survivor, and all the Let's Chat team. We'll leave it there, and we'll talk to you guys another time. We'll see what we do next.
All right. Peace out.